Alrighty, we just finished up NXT. Let's run through the show and talk about everything that happened. Show started out with the last chance fatal four-way for the women's match. We had Fallon Henley, Kiana James, Roxanne Perez, and Thea Hale. I thought it was a pretty good match. Fallon Henley picked up the win, pinning Thea Hale. The real story of the match seemed to be Roxanne Perez and Kiana James. There's a big table spot. They both took a big spill through it. Felt like they're setting them up for a later match, probably at Deadline. Not really sure how I feel about Fallon getting the win, but the Iron Survivor match in general is still kind of experimental. It's a good way to kind of showcase some newer talent. So I'm not necessarily mad at Fallon getting the nod over someone that's more established like a Roxanne Perez. So I'm curious about where they'll go with it. Thoughts on it?
I really enjoyed the match. It was a good way to start out the show. That table spot was pretty crazy. I really thought Thea was going to win. That's who I was cheering for at least. But I think we'll probably talk about it later. I think it's kind of showing the pecking order of the way NXT is supposed to be after Becky Lynch has been in charge for the past few months, and just kind of getting everything back to normal with the regular roster that they have.
We even saw right after that match, Lola Vice and Tatum Paxley confronted Lyra Valkyria backstage, set up a one-on-one match between Lola and Tatum later in the night. Just kind of feels like they're reestablishing that roster, kind of getting the women's division back in line. Honestly, there's a lot of women that feel like there's not enough titles.
Yeah.
Seems like since the NXT women's tag division has been done away with, there's just not a lot of gold for them to really do much with.
Yeah, but I think it's one of those, like, it's a good problem to have, is, like, you have all these women that feel like they're at the same level and that literally any of them could win a championship at any given week.
I guess we'll just have to kind of see where it goes.
I do think they could benefit, though, from some kind of other type of championship to just get more feuds, that extra level.
I think NXT especially would benefit from a mid-card women's title.
Yeah, and then that's like, since it's experimental, and then they just kind of experiment with that, I'd really like to see that on the main roster as well.
Next up on the show was some pretty sad news, to be honest. Wes Lee came out. He was on a crutch. He announced that he's going to be out of action for 8 to 12 months. He's going off to get back surgery. He mentioned in the promo he has no feeling in one of his legs. I mean, that's got to be pretty serious. I don't really know anything when it comes to, like, back surgery or how any of that works, but to be out 8 to 12 months, that's got to be a pretty major surgery.
Yeah, I wonder, did he do it during the Fatal Fourway?
I would assume so. You wouldn't think that he would have gotten the win last week if they knew he was going to be out and miss Deadline.
Yeah. It's very sad, and I thought that it was the worst the whole time. I was waiting on him to use the crutch as a weapon and fight everybody off, but it didn't end up happening.
I kind of felt that way too. The promo itself was really good. It was super emotional, but the crowd also, I think, thought it was a work because they didn't seem to buy into it. They almost felt uncomfortable. There were moments that it felt like they were supposed to cheer, but they were just kind of like uneasy.
Yeah. Whenever he's like, it's not a goodbye, it's see you later, and I don't know, I kind of thought like it was going to be like, see you later at Deadline.
Something like that, but that never came.
Yeah.
We did get the interruption from Dominic. Great heel heat for Dom, of course. Dom mentioned, how do you think my back feels when I've been carrying the company for 2 years? I do think carrying the company for 2 years is a bit of an exaggeration. But to Dom's credit, he's come a long way in 2 years. And, I mean, he has been a workhorse for at least 2023. He's been on Raws, NXT, SmackDown. I mean, that dude's been all over the place. He probably is working at less than 100%. I wouldn't be surprised if he's got some minor injuries.
Yeah,
I really think
has. He's been putting in the work, and he really has. Yeah, I used to like him as more of like a troll type thing when he was a face, but I've really become a fan of Dom Mysterio in the ring. He's doing really well.
Like, I'm not saying that he's actually carrying the company, but he's got to be a contender for most improved.
Yeah.
We got Dom interrupted by Rey Mysterio.
Yeah.
Pretty rare to see Judgment Day getting interrupted by babyfaces. It's kind of their whole thing to interrupt others. And Rey announced that Dom's still going to have a match at Deadline, and it's going to be against Dragon Lee. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm sure that's going to be a great match. Dragon Lee's incapable of having a bad match. It just feels a little sudden and misplaced. I mean, Dragon Lee and Dom have...
Wes Lee.
It's just that Dragon Lee's moved on to SmackDown, and he's doing his own thing with Santos and the LWO.
Well, that's what Rey Mysterio's calling him in for, is to go after... That's his favor.
I guess. It just seems weird that he's now returning to NXT and dealing with Judgment Day again.
Yeah.
I just don't... I guess because
it's
Ray
just
and Dominic are always going to have issues with each other, so that in canon makes sense. It just seems kind of strange to suddenly have this decision instead of someone else in NXT.
Yeah, I guess I can agree with you on that. I guess they're, I don't know, I guess I could have seen, I thought Wes Lee was going to beat Dom and have him go back to the main roster. And I don't know, I think they're just kind of scrambling right now. I don't see Dom losing at Deadline.
Now that it's Dragon Lee, I don't see Dom losing the North American Championship.
Yeah, I don't either.
I think Dom holds it. Maybe Santos interferes, attacks Ray or Dragon Lee, and we can continue that and get a match at the Rumble. I don't know. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah, I'm just still a big advocate of keeping the NXT titles on NXT and not having main roster guys fighting for the...
It's just weird we're going to have a Raw guy versus a SmackDown guy at an NXT show for an NXT title.
Yeah, I agree.
Next up on the show, we had a little mini brawl between Roxanne Perez and Kiana backstage in the trainer's room. Now I'm definitely thinking they're going to have a match at Deadline.
Yeah.
And then, this is where I got real stumped. Ava Raine showed up and said... Well, I think now it's just Ava, not important. But she said they're going to have a match at Deadline. I don't know when she got the authority to make matches.
She's going to be the new GM. You didn't see that the President Rock has...
Of course, 2K20, the people's president.
Has made that decision official.
I don't know what happened. Maybe I missed something, but the last I saw was when Schism broke up, and now she's like this presence in the backstage skits with the women's locker room.
Yeah, I don't know. It's weird. Yeah, Wayne Gacy, he's jumping off the roof or falling off the roof.
Wayne Gacy?
What's his name?
What?
Joe Gacy. Is it Joe?
Yes,
Okay.
it's Joe Gacy. What in the world? Anyways, that's weird for Ava. Next
You
up,
never know, Joe Wayne. He's acting weird.
Joe Wayne.
No, I'm saying Joe or Wayne. I mean, he's acting kind of weird.
He is acting kind of weird. We saw him with Vic Joseph. That was weird too.
It could be Wayne Gacy. You never know.
We saw the announcement for the NXT Men's Breakout Tournament. We got that posted on the channel with everyone. No one super stands out to me. We'll do another video running through everybody's for some more details of it. Next, we had the one-on-one match with Tatum Paxley and Lola Vice. I'm a big Lola fan. I mean, she always impresses in the ring. Obviously, she's stunning. It's just...
Is it because her sister commented on one of our videos?
Hey, man. Big Lola fan. That's all that matters. Tatum's character feels really familiar to me. Like, nothing that necessarily stands out. To me, she kind of feels like Nikki Cross. Almost a little bit like early Paige with, like, the anti-diva.
I was thinking Paige.
But I think that's more so just her kind of in-ring mannerisms than her actual
her
character.
look.
The match itself, pretty simple, but I mean, nothing bad. Pretty good match.
Yeah, it was
just
good,
nothing to necessarily...
Good mid-card match.
Yeah, just nothing that stood out. Next, we had Axiom and Nathan Frazier, a little backstage confrontation promo from last week. I thought Nathan Frazier came across a little bit like a heel, and it was interesting because I don't know that Nathan Frazier is going to be able to pull off a heel. He's just naturally, his moveset, the way that he carries himself, having that high, fast-paced moveset, that's a baby face.
Well, that's funny you say that because I hate him.
All right, yeah. Yeah, I mean, I guess that's a good point. Next up match we had, The next match that we had was Alpha Academy versus the Metaphor, the Metaphor as I like to call them. And I just gotta say it. I say it every time Alpha Academy is involved. Chad Gable is so good in the ring. And Otis, for his comedy character, is so good. He is undeniable. And this is coming from someone that used to despise Otis. And that's because Vince McMahon thought that laughing at him meant to put him in the main event, which is not the correct answer.
Otis with Mandy Rose, that was top tier Otis, that Money in the Bank winner.
That was bottom tier. There's just a certain level of where they can reach, and winning the Money in the Bank is not the level.
Somebody call Peter.
Thank you. I think the highlight of the match for me was Last Legend picking up and body slamming Otis.
Yeah,
I was not only stunned, I was appalled. I couldn't believe my eyes. I thought I was daydreaming.
And Otis's love language
is scoop slams.
Yeah, so he's risen him up word of the year. So Riz.
Riz. I'll be honest, this was just a genuinely great WWE style match.
Yeah.
Everything was clicking.
Match of the night.
I mean, it really just, every single one of them had great chemistry with each other. They were hitting on all the different levels. There were no, major offensive botches or anything like that. Obviously, with it still being NXT style, there were a couple of things that just could be improved upon. But that's what they're there for, you know?
But speaking of NXT and improving, I mean, Maxine Dupree, she is really, really improved from looking like she was Eva Marie, not being able to even be in the ring, to jumping off Chad Gable's shoulders out to the outside. It's really incredible to watch.
Maybe another for Most Improved this year. Next up on the show, the Gallus boys had a little confrontation with Hank and Tank. Hank and Tank got him a couple of beers, chilling with some brews.
1 beer.
Yeah. Technically, it was 3 beers. I don't really know where they're going with this. They're going to have a match next week, so we'll see how it goes. Ava had a promo backstage. She announced and confirmed Roxy and Kiana are going to have a match at Deadline.
Yeah, General Manager Ava. So Rock is pulling the strings, baby.
Apparently, it's also going to be in a steel cage. I think that's a weird stipulation to put on this because neither are really trying to get away from each other. We're not seeing a lot of outside interference, so what's the benefit of the cage?
But it's the steel cage.
It might just be to have a cage. Yeah. Sometimes that's all it is. It's like GM mode, You just want a cage. And then we had a weird segment, the Women's Iron Survivor panel. It felt, I don't know even the right word I want to say. It was awkward, but I think that was part of the charm of it because I enjoyed it.
I enjoyed it too, but for some reason I got the secondhand embarrassment of the old NXT promos, whenever they were on the main roster and they just hazed them on live television.
Sort of.
I don't know why, I just kept getting that vibe.
It felt like they didn't get a script. Yeah. It was we trust that you know your characters, go out, stay in character, and interact with each other.
Yeah.
And that's not necessarily a bad thing.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's what a lot of, especially more casual fans, want to see is unscripted interactions within character.
And that if that is the case, and that just builds them up to keep on improving on what they're doing.
Now, obviously, they need some work on it.
Yeah.
Because some of that was pretty cringy.
Yeah.
But if this is going to be if this is a first step in that direction, and that's what NXT is here for, I'm all right with it. Then we had the match between Nathan Frazier and Axiom. We're going to have a rematch on the kickoff show on Deadline on Saturday. I mean, Nathan Frazier and Axiom, they're always good, Yeah, they just have that chemistry.
So quickly.
Axiom's too fast. Santa Claus was in the crowd. Even he was moving in slow motion. There was a brawl that started in the Iron Survivor panel. It continued over, and it ended in a big, just no contest, mass disqualification. I mean, a brawl is just a brawl. NXT's got them all the time nowadays. But Nikita Lyons came out. I guess it counts as a return, even though she was in the crowd last week.
Yeah.
And she attacked Blair Davenport. So, welcome back, NXT. I am glad to see that they're keeping up that consistency of the storyline. You know, Blair was revealed to be the mystery attacker. We know the mystery
Ran her
attacker
over
was
with
who.
a car. Thank goodness.
Well, I mean, she hit her with a car.
Thank goodness Nikita didn't want to go that far.
Not yet. We'll see what happens at Deadline.
I wonder if we're going to get a match with Nikita at Deadline, if she's going to interfere, what's going to happen with that.
I don't think we'll get a match. Surely Deadline's full at this point, but we'll see. Next up, we're running up on the end of the show here. We had the Chase U press conference, student body,
this
pep
is what
rally.
I was most looking forward to throughout just the preview of the show. This is what I was most looking forward to.
I think I was too, and I don't think it delivered for me.
Yeah, I thought that something was going to happen, that it was going to prove that Andre Chase wasn't the cause for everything, and then that just went out the window, apparently.
They announced that they are officially on academic probation. They are hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt.
Because Andre Chase gambled it away.
And this is where I was confused by. Andre Chase was saying that it was him that gambled it. So why did he last week, or whenever he announced that there was someone who was gambling, why did he turn and look at Duke, who Duke has established multiple times is a bad poker player that has lost his fortune? Why has he multiple times not trusted JC? And why is Thea so mad if she doesn't know any better?
Yeah.
Unless she does know better. We know that he doesn't trust, or we know that he's in deep with the family, with the D'Angelo family.
And he said it was from a third party, so that interest was very high.
Which I'm assuming is, once again, the D'Angelo family.
Yeah.
But the D'Angelo family are faces. And so is Chase U. So you would think that they'd be able to work something out, both in this, fantasy world of NXT being good guys. They'd be able to find something they could do.
Face goes out the window when you're hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt.
I guess that's true. He's
going to have to sell Andre Chase University.
And now we're going to get the Don U.
And then he said that a lot of students are going to lose financial aid.
But it was only the students that joined after the investigation, which we haven't been introduced to any students that joined after the investigation started. So why do we care?
Sexy hunk that Thea Hale was engulfed with.
Again, who is that? This was just a weird segment. I don't know who these people are.
Yeah.
And I don't know why I should care for a lot of the people that are shown in these segments when they don't show us. And as far as I know, maybe I'm wrong and I just haven't seen it, but there's nothing online or anything like that for me to get more lore about Chase U.
Yeah, I feel like that we haven't seen anybody other than the original people come through Chase U or anything like that.
And I think that's a real lapse in judgment.
Yeah.
And I mean, if they want to do extra, that's fine, but similar to things like being the Elite or now being the Dark Order, even if that is additional lore that's available, unless it's going to become part of the show and be shown on the weekly television product, it's not going to make a huge effect.
Yeah, I mean, look at Alpha Academy. I mean, you got Maxine Dupree and Akira Tozawa, joining Alpha Academy, and you can see them improving. It's a part of the story, and I just don't really know what they're doing with the Chase U story of the students aspect.
I don't either. We'll see how it goes. And now let's get into, I guess you call it the main event, the last match at least. The men's last chance fatal four-way. Trick was already mad at Melo before the match started, which I mean good after what we saw with NXT Anonymous and Lexis King's video on X. Lexis King implying that he and Melo are working together now.
They both don't miss.
This is true. Melo upset with this, and thanks to General Manager Ava Marie.
Eva Marie.
Ava Rain, excuse me.
Our minds are all over the place. Wayne Gacy, Eva Marie.
I don't even know where we are anymore. Thanks to Ava, it seems as though they're having a match officially, King and Melo on Saturday. The match itself, though, we have Carmelo Hayes, Tyler Bate, Eddie Thorpe, and Joe Coffey. A lot of desperation to win. Match felt pretty similar to the one that started the show with the women. Thorpe is a great role player. He gets the very basic fundamentals of what makes a match. He gets them down pat thanks to his time in New Japan. He was a great young lion. But like you pointed out, he just really stopped selling those injured ribs.
Yeah, he just took his little rib tape down, and then he was fine and just running around. Maybe it was just the adrenaline, the fighting energy.
The fighting spirit,
that
baby.
I just love so much.
And then immediately got caught, got spine busted onto the steel steps, and he's out.
How much that hurt.
He's out for the rest of the match. And maybe a big upset to some people, Tyler Bate pins Joe Coffey and gets the win.
Yeah.
So now all 5 in the men's are going to be first-time ever competitors. I believe all 10 in both matches are first-time ever competitors.
Oh, wow,
I don't think any from the last year made it over. So pretty exciting. I don't really have a prediction for who's going to win, to be honest.
Yeah, I don't know either.
And I think that's because I don't know who's going to win the NXT title.
Yeah.
So we can get into that. Take a look at the actual main. It was a Corbin and Ilya face-off. Baron Corbin, Ilya Dragunov. The story of this match that they told pretty well in this last little, I don't know, maybe 5-minute interaction between them is pretty good. It's the idea of the vindication for Baron Corbin versus the fear that each of them seem to have about living down their own expectations for themselves. The idea that Ilya's families are missing each other, like Ilya's kid is missing him just as much as Ilya's missing his kid. Corbin's justification for staying in NXT, Ilya's justification for staying in America.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a really solid story.
Yeah, it is. I've been really impressed with Baron Corbin. I've always been a big Baron Corbin fan, but especially now he's putting on in NXT, showing people what and really doing what he did the first time, just showing people what he can do. And I'm really excited for this match. This is going to be the match I'm most excited for at Deadline.
I'm a little surprised it's not main eventing.
Is it not? I didn't know that.
They implied, Trick said that he was going to close the show, so they implied that that's going to be the main event, which I suppose makes sense with that being the big gimmick match to end the show. But a little bit of a bummer for Baron not to get the main in his big NXT title match. But their face-off gets cut short. The Iron Survivor men are having a big brawl, just like the women had earlier in the night. Good parallelism, a little bit repetitive though.
Yeah.
They come out and they brawl into the match. Braun ends up spearing Trick into the table. Sucks to be Trick, I guess. And then surprisingly, Tyler Bate ends up standing tall amongst everyone else, which I thought was interesting that not only did he get to win the match, he ends the night standing tall, and he didn't even get a full entrance.
Yeah, it's pretty wild that it should show you that, like, oh, damn, Triple H, whenever he puts the little logo at the bottom, that it's not over yet. So if someone doesn't get an entrance, it doesn't mean that they're not going to win like it used to.
Yeah.
But I really thought that Baron was going to go through the table, and I was a little worried. But especially when Ilya grabbed him.
Yeah, I think they're doing a really good job of playing, even with, like, we watch a lot of wrestling. They're doing a really good job of playing into our expectations, just to then be like, haha, idiots. And you know what? I enjoy that.
I did too. I enjoyed it as well, but one disappointment I had was Von Wagner not on the show.
I think there were a couple of people. And I mean, that's just been going on a lot lately where there's been some people not getting featured. But I think we're just in that little bit of a transition period here in December where some people are going to get cooled down a little bit so that other people can get heated up going into the Rumble before we start making our way towards Mania and Stand and Deliver.
I just saw that table. I wanted to...
Ooh, someone's got to get tabled.
But I guess he's taking care of business at the kids' school, Mr. Stone's kids' school with the bullies.
Amen. He's got to go after those kids.
Whoa.